I didn't see you. Give me a thumbs up. Thank you. Wow, what a crowd tonight. So I'd like to welcome everyone. We're going to start with the invocation, and then we'll follow that with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you would, please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and the blessings you have given us. We thank you for the opportunity to serve the citizens of Elkins. We ask that you help us to keep open minds, civil tongues, and warm hearts as we work together to make our community grow. We also ask that you watch over and guide our country's leader. In Jesus' name, amen. I will now call the Elkins City Council meeting to order and ask our clerk to take roll, please.
Councilor Bross-Friganera.
Here.
Councilor Carroll.
Here.
Councilor Chenoweth is absent. Councilor Hinchman.
Here.
Councilor Kearns.
Here.
Councilor Lowther is absent. Councilor Parker.
Yes.
Councilor Pliszka.
Here.
Councilor Severino. And Councilor Thompson is absent. 7 present. You have a quorum.
Thank you, sir. Did you want to read your statement?
Yeah, just as a reminder for everyone watching at home, you can find tonight's agenda packet with everything council is looking at on the city website's Agenda Center. Just go to www.cityofelkinswv.com and type Agenda Center into the search bar. We'll also put the link in the comments below this video.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone here tonight for public comment? If you'll step up, please. Your name, you know the routine, you've been here forever. Name and address, please.
Good evening. My name is Marilyn Kwanzaa, 160 Guy Street, Elkins, West Virginia. And I am here to encourage our great city council to take up Resolution 1697 and to pass it this evening. I want to just take a moment to think about the past and thank the council that I don't even know what year it is. Maybe Jerry could tell us what that year it was that City Council made a motion to accept the Darden House as a gift. And is kept it under
1997.
1997?
Yep.
Great.
That's the date of the deed.
That was awesome. And in all these years, it's been kept safely right next door to this wonderful building here. So I want to just thank this council for taking, and Municipal Properties for taking this up and for offering it to Woodlands. Couldn't be a better home for it. So thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone else here for public comment tonight? Thank you. Okay, we'll move down to the minutes portion, and I will entertain a motion to accept the November 2nd minute meetings as submitted.
So moved.
We have a motion. Any comments or discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. No correspondence or notifications. We'll also go down to our committee report, and we will start with Councilor Parker, please. Push your button, please.
For public safety, I think the chiefs will report out anything that I might have to say, so I won't be redundant. For the task force, we had a really, really solid meeting with Jonathan Board, who represents our region on the West Virginia First Foundation. That's the drug settlement money funds that will be dispersed all over the state. And I think that he's going to make a good representative for us based on everything that I've seen and that I've heard. And I'm grateful for that because his priority is that those monies be spent at this level, at the local level, and that they not be squandered on administrative costs and projects that really don't bear fruit for those of us who live just regular lives in our communities. So I think he's going to be really good at that. And he made a point of telling us that they believe that the first of the monies will be released in this year, in 2023. And that will be according to this mysterious formula. That will be a percentage of some funds, but it will be significant when all is said and done. I think he indicated it might be more significant than we thought. I don't want to put dollar amounts out here until we have a check that's arrived at the treasurer's office. And that's what I have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councilor Bross-Verganaire.
Yes, thank you. The tree board met this week. We're still working on the urban forest management plan. We had a great meeting with the Envision group. We're really trying to make sure that we get input from all the stakeholders. So we met with downtown business owners, and our survey was, I think, very successful. We had 73 respondents. So that's like 10% of the population. So we're happy with that. So we're going to continue to work on that plan. And we will be meeting with a forester next month and continuing that work and working on the next grant that has no match. So we're excited about that. Municipal Properties also met this week. And we met for 2 hours. Several items are on the agenda this evening, so I won't repeat that. And then also, just as a fun thing, former Councilor Kwanzo and myself went and presented Judy Guy with her plaque, and that was a really lovely gathering to hand that over to her for her 10 years of service. So that is all I have to report.
Thank you so much. And you're right, it was a marathon meeting. So, Councilor Pliszka.
No report.
Thank you. Councilor Henchman.
Yes, sir. Finance met on Monday on the 13th. We went over budget revisions, which we'll be voting on tonight. There's still one piece of property with the water plant that still needs to be completed, so we had a discussion on that. It's estimated to be less than, approximately $5,000 to take care of that. We went over the EMS funding request, and we'll take it up with all the other funding requests. We had discussions on the recycling fund, and it looks like right now that the expenses will come out of sanitation.
Correct. Thank you, sir. Councilor Kearns.
No report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Severino.
No report.
Thank you. Councilor Carroll.
Rules and Ordinance met, and we discussed, Sutton put together a great kind of pathway for those of us that are new to council, or also for how to propose ordinances and what is the due diligence we should do before we start to waste our precious time in committee on different things. So that was really helpful to us, and we had a long discussion about a purchasing that was really helpful. But none of that business has come to the full council. And then the Planning Commission met also as well. And from that meeting, you guys will see an agenda item 317 about how to handle properties that come into the city that weren't previously zoned. And there'll be more discussion about that.
Thank you, sir. Okay, moving down to staff reports. We will start with our Chief Wastewater Operator, Whitney Himes.
Well, good evening. I just have a few things for you. The water and wastewater has been in a collaborative effort on trying to procure for engineering services for a water and sewer line replacement and rehab project. The procurement phase will be over at 3 o'clock tomorrow, and then we're going to start looking into the engineering services and work collaboratively on that to maybe hopefully get a project in the future. We have our data acquisition system finally installed at the wastewater facility, so it's up and running, and we're working the kinks out of that. And the past few weeks, we've had some job vacancies in the wastewater department, so we've been working closely with the human resources department to get those filled and back up to par. And just to say, Melissa's been here for 3 short months, but it's been very productive, and she's done a wonderful job for our department. So, but other than that, that's all I have. Is there any questions?
Thank you so much. And now the moment everyone's waiting for, Chief Bennett.
Good evening. I'll have a very short report tonight, and then we'll move on to other business. Our testing from the 4th of November yielded 4 candidates who made it through all the testing and interviews, and we have an established hiring list that we'll be able to move down to get the 3 officers that we need. Moving on with them into the background phase, which we're starting very soon. See how many we have left after that. One of those 4 was Patrolman White, who has been working for us on a provisional basis, so we've been able to go ahead and appoint him as a full-time permanent police officer with us. Also, we hired a parking enforcement officer that will begin employment on the 27th of November. So be happy to get that gentleman in here and trained and working and have our parking enforcement back. Other than that, does anybody have any questions about what I've reported? All right, moving on to other business. Tonight's a special night. We get to do a promotion. This is always the best thing that I get to do, but tonight it's even better because this is a very important one. We get to promote somebody from sergeant to the rank of lieutenant, and that's a spot in somebody's career that it's a milestone, and it's where your responsibilities shift and your duties change. It's significant, and it's most noticeable because this is where you go from wearing a silver badge to wearing a gold badge. That's how significant this promotion is. You go from following orders and executing the direction and goals of the senior people in the department to having a seat at the table to making those decisions, to help shaping the direction of the department and having a say in what the policy and procedure are. Every time I promote somebody to a rank ahead of where they were, I tell them when we stand up here, being promoted is not a reason for less work. It simply means you have more responsibility, more duties, and more people looking at you. There is no rank in this department that's more important or shows that more than what lieutenant does. As a lieutenant, you're the epitome of what all the younger officers want to be. You're the standard and you're the example that everybody should be looking to hold themselves to. The officer that I'm going to promote tonight, I have absolutely no doubt that he will be that standard, he'll be that example, and he'll be that officer that everybody strives to be.
We will now take a few minutes for some photos. Mr. Kessinger, you get to follow that.
Well, obviously, that's going to be a hard one to follow. Lieutenant can hear me out there. Congratulations, well-deserved. It's always good to see people get promoted and move up in the ranks no matter what department they're in. Chief, that was a great job. You should be commended on how you operate that. I don't have anything near as exciting as that to report, so I'll kind of be brief. As you know, we're in the middle of leaf season right now, and I wanted to give a quick update on what we're going to do with the leaf truck. It will run again tomorrow. It will run next week as well. At the end of next week, we're going to shut the leaf truck down. Doesn't mean we're not going to pick up leaves anymore, but what we're going to do at that point is have people put their leaves in bags, call the operations department. We will coordinate with the street department to go out in trucks and pick up the rest of the leaves. We feel that's just a little more economical to do it that way as we progress through leaf season. My hat's off to the street department for the job they've been doing. Phenomenal. It's not easy. It's not easy at all. They're doing a great job with it. Just this evening at 5:30, I saw them out there working. So they're putting in some extra hours to make sure we get everything taken care of. With the upcoming holiday, the sanitation department will be operating on a different schedule. I do believe we've posted this, or we're going to post it on the website. Sunday, November the 19th, we will be doing Monday's pickup. On Monday the 20th, there will be no trash service that day. On Tuesday the 21st, it will be a normal pickup. On Wednesday the 22nd, we will do what's called a double day. We'll do Wednesday and Thursday's pickup. Obviously, no service on Thursday, and then back to normal pickup on Friday. And again, that will be available on the city's website if you have any questions. A little office note, Tracy called me the other day and said she was getting dripped on by a busted pipe or something above her office. So we've moved her, and I think she likes her new location, so I think she's going to stay there. So I'm glad we were able to take care of that as quickly as we possibly could. So, but once again, goes into the whole HVAC thing. We really need to, focus on that and move forward. Smith Backhoe will be going out here in the next few weeks, working with the street department on opening up, enlarging some of the openings for the trees and installing the tree grates. Walked around town yesterday and looked at the different areas that needed addressed, so it looks like we're moving in the right direction there. And he will be back in, he's been out of town, Smith Backhoe has, but he'll be back in town next week and hopefully get coordinated with the street department to get that project going and taken care of. Code enforcement, we sent out 6 warning letters. From the 3rd to the 16th, we issued 2 building permits with about $13,000 worth of investment on those projects. 1 new permit for a business, did 2 rental inspections. 5 of our 9 structures for demolition are gone and complete. The other 4, the company moved in today and they started today. So we're making progress on the demolitions and the DEP grant that we received. As a reminder, City Hall will be closed on Thursday for Thanksgiving and Friday as well. I'd like to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving, and if you need anything next week, the operations office will be available to take calls and answer any questions you may have. So with that, I'll answer any questions you have this evening.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Ms. Judy.
Good evening. As the operations manager said, I'd like to thank him and Melody as well for taking care of the situation as quickly as they could. It was not very fun. So moving on, in your treasurer's report is in your packet tonight. Anybody have any questions regarding those 3 documents? All right. Also, there will be 3 budget revisions, 1 for fire, 1 for sanitation, and then a state budget revision. Once we get to those, if you have questions, I'd be happy to answer. And everything's basically running as normal as can be in the treasurer's office. Utility billing is working on getting the Whitmer customers entered into the system, so we're preparing to do those billings and moving forward with that. That's all I have right now. Anybody have anything? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. Chief Himes.
Okay, I'll be brief as well. As of today, we're at 583 calls for the year, tracking about normal for the annuals and the month and so on and so forth. On Monday, the 6th, as I previously reported, the third-party company came to town to do our annual aerial certification, and that went off without a hitch, with no issues, no corrections to be made to that apparatus. The Red Cross last Friday delivered about 24 smoke alarms to us, and the process for issuing and installing those, we've actually put a couple up. So we have a limited quantity, but I'm told that when they're gone, all I have to do is ask for some more. Nothing new to report on the engine. We're still looking at a potential December delivery. But we'll hopefully, when things start moving again, it'll move rather quickly. We've been dealing with some heating issues ourselves the last week or so, but I think we got all that ironed out today. And lastly, in honor of the holiday, if you're deep frying your turkey, don't put too much oil in your deep fryer or you'll see me, so, and the rest of the guys. So this year's Fire Prevention Week slogan was cooking safety, and holiday gatherings are typically notorious for those mishaps to occur. So enjoy your holiday and cook safe, and don't be a customer of the fire department. Anybody have any questions?
I forgot, how do people, for the fire alarm distribution, how do, you said you had 24, how do those get distributed?
Just, they're going to be first come, first serve, and call the fire station.
Call the fire station?
We've got a form that we've got to fill out for the Red Cross.
Okay.
To track the location, number of occupants, and if we're replacing outdated alarms or whatever the reason is for the need, we've got to document that.
Okay, and just to clarify, you all install it, or that?
Yes, ma'am.
Wow, that's a great service, thank you.
Anything else? Thank you, Chief. I
Okay,
always
thank you.
appreciate your safety tips. Mr. Stokes.
Thanks, Mayor. Just briefly tonight, I just wanted to let you know, this week I've been working on the home rule report that's due December 1st. This is just an annual report that updates the home rule board on our use of that program. The Welcome to Elkins signs operation says they'll be out for bid soon. And then I just wanted to preview briefly, and I can take questions when we get to the items, but very excited about two items that are on the agenda tonight. One is the WENS, W-E-N-S, mass notification system. Not to go into a ton of detail, but this would really take us to the next level in terms of having a really modern, easy-to-use system for sending out emergency alerts. It has a lot of very easy-to-use features, and it'll also benefit internal teams in the city as well. So it'll be very exciting to move ahead with that. Similarly, there'll be a resolution to approve contracting with DocuSign. And this is, you may have encountered this in real estate transactions or with other businesses or entities. It's basically a way to get electronic signatures on documents and track approvals and keep those approved documents in an easy-to-find central location. So that'll help Melissa in HR quite a bit, and the rest of us as well are looking forward to using that to streamline a few time-consuming processes right now. Speaking of Melissa, I'm going to ask her to come up in just a sec. we painted a pretty grim picture of the health insurance situation at the last meeting, and you may have seen it covered in the paper. After some further work, the figures coming a little better into view. Basically continuing as is after the 13% PEIA premium increase next July 1. If we didn't make any changes to how we do things and kept the same employee city cost sharing, employee premiums would go up 13%, and the overall cost to the city would be about $100,000 more than right now. Obviously, that's a pretty big budget hit, and there would be work on, would the city be in a position to absorb all of that? Would it be possible that the employees would be asked to take on more? So Melissa, the Human Resources Generalist, I'd like her to come up and explain a much more appealing option that would reduce both city and employee costs and might make a pretty good solution.
Good evening. So to try to alleviate some of this cost, the $100,000, that's quite a hit for us to be able to take. We've also looked at modeling some other options. I've spoke to other municipalities as well. Plan C looks to be like a very viable option. If we would move over to Plan C, it does have the high deductible plan, much higher deductible than other plans, but many municipalities are able to subsidize this employee deductible cost just because of the lower premium overall. So what the city could actually do is cover 100% of the premium cost, and the employee would have no contribution at all. Currently, the city is paying about 93% of the premium for employees, but then it would shift to employees not paying anything out of pocket. The other part to that is that we could also contribute 100% of the high deductible amount for the HSAs for the employee as well. So that would be a tremendous relief to the employees. And the kicker is that this is actually only going to cost the city $1,000 more than what we're currently paying. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Melissa. Yeah, Melissa's been doing a lot of spreadsheet work on this, and it's paying off. I told you you'd like that. That's all I have, unless anyone has any questions.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Roberts.
Thank you, Mayor. I have nothing in particular, but when you get to some of the items under your new business, you may have some questions, so I'll be available to speak to any of those. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, moving down to the approval of invoice payments, I will entertain a motion to approve the invoices from October 30th to November 10th as submitted. We have a motion. Any comments or discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Under new business, proposal to close City Hall at noon on Fridays before Christmas and New Year's. I will entertain a motion to accept, please. We have a motion. Any comments or discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Ordinance 317, an ordinance of the Common Council of Elkins, West Virginia, amending sections of City Code, Chapter 152, zoning regarding the zoning of unzoned parcels. This is the first of two readings. I will entertain a motion to accept, please. We have a motion. Any comments or discussion?
I guess Jerry
Sure. So in August of 2022, the city adopted a massive zoning ordinance, over 100 pages or so, and knowing then that there would be some things that would have to be reviewed or that have to be changed. So sometime late this summer, we became aware of the fact that there was some property that was never zoned because we thought it was part of a railroad right-of-way. Just to let you know, there is no zoning of any of the rights-of-way within the city, whether it's a public street, alley, railroad right-of-way. So since there was this property, in fact, there are several pieces that are adjacent to the railroad right-of-way that we believe were part of it, we didn't really have a process in place about what you do. So if you look at section 152.068, it had the procedure in place about something we hope would happen at some point, annexed lands and how you would zone them, vacated areas such as when there's an abandoned street or an unopened alley. So if you look at that, what I did is I changed and added unzoned land to that section. A and B were already in your zoning ordinance, but because we didn't really have a procedure to handle the zoning of unzoned lands, I thought it was important that we do have some sort of due process in there. And if you would look at section A, this is very similar to what you do when there's new annexed land that comes in. If the council approves at this reading and the second reading, there will be then a process about what you do about unzoned land. I spoke to the folks at the land use clinic. In fact, Christy was here with the Planning Commission recently, and this has been discussed. In fact, this sort of general topic's been in front of that commission, and she said, well, I think this is about all you can do since there was not a procedure, and this is a good idea that should really put everyone on notice, including the landowner, what council intends to do. So I would encourage passage of this. It was long discussed at the Planning Commission, and as I said, I spoke to Jesse Richardson, who's the attorney at the Land Use Clinic, and also Christy DeMuth, who has been our contact person, and they both agree that this made sense about how to handle something that you had not anticipated. So does anybody have any questions?
Any other questions?
I just, real quick, was wondering if it affects property taxes for anyone? Maybe that's not even a good question.
Well, zoning, I mean, they're getting taxed now regardless, and they are in the city limits, and it is property owned and assessed to that owner. I don't foresee that it would make a change in anything. It's just that it was adjacent to the railroad right-of-ways, and we assumed it was all part of the railroad right-of-way, and all of those rights-of-way were transferred to the West Virginia State Rail Authority. It was later that we realized that adjacent to it were these other pieces of property that had another owner.
And just to add, I think I know what you're asking, but the assessor decides how to categorize properties. They don't pay any attention to our zoning when they do that. It's just based on their definitions.
And this is actually CSX we're talking about, is the owner of the property. They own property all over the country. I think this small parcel in Elkins, West Virginia is a very minor piece of all the property that they own. So we're not imposing on some local small business person or residential property or whatever. But this seems to be a fair way to deal with unzoned properties going forward.
Any other questions?
I'd just like to comment that I think this is wonderful. I mean, this is exactly what the zoning ordinance, when we passed it, we knew that there would be issues coming up that we did not anticipate, and we also encouraged passage of the ordinance saying that there will be times when we will have to revisit things. It's a living, breathing ordinance, and I'm really pleased to see that this is another illustration of that adaptability. And I remember being on planning, the planning committee, and people thought, oh, once this is over, what are we going to do with all our time? And this is exactly, and so I appreciate all the work that the Planning Commission continues to do.
And it came here tonight in the manner that's set out in your zoning ordinance. Recommendation from your planning commission to deal with the situation. They examined it. They made their decision pursuant to their authority under the zoning ordinance. That's the only way it goes from them as a recommendation. It is also, you have to also make the finding, and that's in the ordinance, that it does not in any way jeopardize your comprehensive plan or be in some way different than what that is. So you've met all the criteria, and this is my suggestion about how to deal with unzoned lands.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? If none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Resolution 1697, accepting the terms of a proposal to transfer the Darden House to Woodlands Development and Lending. I will entertain a motion to accept, please.
So moved.
We have a motion. Any comments or discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries.
I'd just like to comment, being on municipal properties, how exciting and significant this decision is, and I greatly, greatly appreciate Woodlands Development having this proposal. I think it's perfect for the city. It saves a historic structure that we really had no capacity to really take care of properly. So it's a real, as Van would always say, a win-win for the city and for the residents. And again, thank you very much, Dave, for your work on this project.
Thank you.
And I would encourage everyone to read all of the attachments that Sutton put with this resolution. It's important to understand the history of how
Right.
we got to here and from the time the property was purchased.
Okay, Resolution 1698, accepting the terms of and authorizing execution of an agreement with the WINS for a mass notification system that Sutton mentioned earlier. I will entertain a motion to accept, please. We have a motion. Any comments or discussion?
I have a quick question. So, so the county has Nixle. What's the movement towards this, or what added features do we get from this versus what we are using currently?
Yeah, I mean, it's been great to be a partner or be allowed to partner with the county and use the OEM's Nixle platform. One of the issues there is that we're not the primary agency that owns that implementation of it. So it's a big obstacle to getting people to subscribe. If you move to an area and you know about Nixle, you can go to the Nixle website or from anywhere, you can put in a zip code and find all of the public groups you can join through Nixle, and areas that may have a bunch. There may be OEM, there may be police, there may be local governments, whatever. Right now in this area, because of the way we're on there, since they just kind of let us piggyback, our group is what's called a private group under Nixle. And so the only way people can sign up for that is find out on our website that it's available. It doesn't show up when you go to the Nixle generic kind of search page, and sign up through a widget, form we have on our website. So that's one issue. The other issue is we don't own, it's not our platform. It's the county letting us use it. If there was ever a problem in the middle of the night when we really needed it, Nixle tech support isn't really going to know who we are if we needed to deal with an issue. And then the particular Nixle implementation they have, it's a little labor intensive to use. The WENS interface really, you kind of open up one page. There's a block where you start typing text. You type what you want to put out, and you check boxes: text, email, robocall, send. And that'll really streamline getting things out in an emergency. And then there's a bunch of other things you can do where you can assign basically different levels of administrative authority over different groups, so that department heads could have their own groups they can send to without having authority to send to the whole system, and avoid sending mistaken text to a larger group than is intended. So it's got a bunch more features like that, but that's kind of the high points.
So would you anticipate then that the city would use more, communicate more with it than they do currently, than with the current system? Or there's more opportunity to interface with the public than what's previously used? Or is I would assume before it's basically emergencies. Is there a non-emergency use for this?
There would be opportunities, and we're going to get training. It's included in the price. There would be opportunities to have different lists, different types of lists. That's another thing I forgot to mention. You could create lists where people want to get water alerts, or they don't want those, but they want all emergency alerts, things like that. And so you could send to segments of the population. It has good geographic targeting. Right now we don't do, we always wrestle with what to send regarding water issues, for example, because we don't want to abuse the patience of the entire list across the whole city when it's affecting one block. So this would give us a little bit better opportunity to try to send to geographic targeting like that. So yeah, there could be more fine-grained and more categories of communication.
That's awesome. That's way cool.
Any other questions or comments?
Yes, sir. Would we have to re-sign up, or is there a way from Nixle to roll it over to us?
It does seem that we can import from Nixle, and we're going to be working through that with the company. But I think we can pull in the contacts that we've accumulated from Nixle, as well as on our MailChimp newsletter platform.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Resolution 1699, accepting the terms of and authorizing execution of an agreement with DocuSign for e-signature and document management software. I will entertain a motion to accept, please. We have a motion. Any comments or discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Resolution 1700, authorizing the city treasurer to open a bank account for the newly created Fund 26 opioid settlement funds. I will entertain a motion to accept, please.
So moved.
We have a motion. Any comments or discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Resolution 1701, fiscal year 2024 budget revisions in the Fire Department Fund and the Sanitation Fund. I will entertain a motion to accept, please.
So moved.
We have a motion. Any comments or discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Resolution 1702, approving fiscal year 2024 general fund state budget revision number 3. I will entertain a motion to accept, please.
So moved.
Mike's on fire tonight. And this is a roll call vote, so I'll ask Sutton to take roll, please.
Motion on the floor for Resolution 1702, the state budget revision number 3 for the general fund. Councilor Bros-Fregonera? Yes. Councilor Carroll?
Yeah.
Councilor Cheno is absent. Councilor Hinchman?
Yes.
Councilor Kearns?
Yes.
Councilor Parker? Yes. Councilor Pliszka?
Yes.
Councilor Severino?
Yes.
And Councilor Thompson's absent. So 7 yeses, motion passes.
Thank you, sir. Resolution 1703, ratification of Second Industrial Access Road Program Agreement between the West Virginia Division of Highways, Randolph County Development Authority, and the City of Elkins for road work related to the RCDA's industrial park expansion. I will entertain a motion to accept, please. We have a motion. Any comments or discussion?
I have a quick question. I don't know if Mike, you might have the knowledge of this, or who might be the right audience for this. So, the access for this is off Riverbend Park Road, and so obviously you've got this really interesting mixed use where you've got like park traffic and then like industrial park traffic. So I didn't know what leverage does the city have to make sure that there's like good, safe pedestrian access on the Park Road in, or like do we have? I mean, I read through it and it seemed like the Development Authority is approving the designs and working through that process. So I didn't know, and obviously I'm new to this conversation, what points have been made in terms of maintaining like that use, so you don't suddenly have like semi trucks and runners coming out of the road at the same time. That there's if that's been part of the discussion that anyone knows about. Or
It has.
Okay.
And in fact, council in 2022 passed a resolution very similar to this. The way this grant money works is they are limited, RCDA is limited to the amount they can get each fiscal year.
Mm-hmm.
This is identical to what the city approved back in 2022 as it's set forth in the resolution. They got more money. This is for fiscal year 2024, so they need to come back to us with it. I've met with the engineer and representatives of the RCDA, and any plan as to how we're going to actually execute that is still in the process. Mm-hmm. But there will be input from the city. Certainly if it needs to be looked at by our public safety officers, it will. But that was the beginning of all of this. In order for them to have this industrial park where they are, there are guidelines that the DOH has in place, and it has to be a certain kind of entrance, and that industrial park that's really closer to the flood control road, this is the only way they can designate those 72 acres as an industrial park. So the city will definitely have input on how all this
That's awesome.
works.
Thanks.
Any other questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. J, changes to the downtown sound system policy, and I'll defer this one to Sutton.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, everyone, you have my memo in your packets, summing up some kind of how we currently administer the downtown system of speakers. As you know, as it states in there, typically right now the use of those is entirely by outside organizations. They have to pay a certain amount of money per day to use it. They also are well advised to get licenses to play copyrighted music as a business does, or anyone playing it for the public. This system's been in place for a few years now, I think maybe since 2017. It did cost around $17,000 to install. It seemed when it all started that everyone was kind of on the same page, that it was reasonable for the city to charge $40 a day and to recoup some of those costs, and for other reasons that make sense as well. But that runs up against the reality of community groups and downtown businesses that want to do this holiday Christmas or holiday music program from approximately Black Friday until most of the way through December. So typically that's cost $1,200, and as I understand it, it's been raised different ways in the past, sometimes sole contributions. Other times I understand business owners have been asked to contribute. The simple fact is it doesn't seem like this charge is ever really going to seem fair. It leads to disagreements and disputes, and it's kind of a real downer for staff every year. And so what the proposal before you here is that we would shift responsibility for that program basically to city staff. We found a technological solution that would enable that to not have really any impact. We're going to automate the playlists, holiday music playlists, using an app, that same kind of thing businesses use to program music in their stores. And that, I think, would just remove a kind of weird conflict that develops every holiday season. There may be some opportunities to change how we handle the rest of the year using this app. There are some good reasons to reconsider letting people plug into the system when we're not always clear what equipment they're using, things like that. But it's a little more complicated for some of the other events that go on throughout the year. But anyway, so the proposal here is that that council basically accept city responsibility for providing the holiday music program as a city function, and there'd be no more costs incurred by outside organizations or business owners, just for this specific Black Friday through Christmas Eve holiday music program.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to accept, please.
So moved.
We have a motion. Any comments or discussion?
I have a couple questions. So I guess one, in looking at the rest of the year, I mean, is this a scenario too? Because I'd be curious if I were another organization, why this period's getting preference, and whether we'd look at like just not charging anyone a fee in the future, where the city would just assume full responsibility.
We're gonna kick around some different approaches, I think. One reason is because this is $1,200 and pretty much everyone else's event is $40, because it's a one-day thing. I think it makes sense to distinguish in that sense, but it may be that there's a good reason to reconsider that in general. Like I said, this is just really what's here is the reconsideration of the holiday program. We definitely have been kicking around some ideas, and we were going to propose some other things for the rest of the year, and then kind of at the last minute, I cannot emphasize how complicated this is. I think between Jeremy and me, I mean, easy to say we've put like a week of work into this, more than a week of work. You wouldn't think that, but it's true. Just trying to get the system up and working properly this fall, and then thinking through how this could be done in a way that would protect the city's investment and still support these kind of programs. So there's some more figuring still to do, and I think that's an open question, what you raise, but I basically picture kind of working on that over the next couple of months and just coming back with come back to council with a new set of guidelines that are more fully fleshed out that the council could consider and adopt. You could always, well, never mind. So we'll come back with that.
Second question is the city in a position to be curating content for consumption like this? Like, is there any issue we could get in depending on what happens to show up in these playlists, or?
The app that we're using is, it's for businesses. You can do things like switch off explicit content as an automatic filter. Beyond that, it's going to be these pre-selected holiday music playlists that the app provides, and we'll see how that goes. But do you have a specific concern, or?
Well, so I was just thinking about, so obviously, Christmas is a religious holiday. It's a Christian holiday. So holiday music is quite a wide genre, right? So how are we going to make sure that we're respecting people's religious beliefs and not both? Yeah, either way, yeah. What's our spot on that? That just seems like a sticking point potentially.
I think we will be. My sense is that the playlist that I've seen will largely mirror what's been being played in past years, which has sounded to me like a mix of traditional songs and modern pop interpretations. And these lists, some of them are instrumental, some of them are, specific to different styles of music. I guess if there are complaints, council can reconsider whether it wants to have a program like this at all. But I'm not aware that there have been.
And then I guess, Jerry, is there a difference between the city having the sound system and letting a group play music on it, and they're assuming responsibility, and then the city being the one providing the content for consumption? In terms of, any sort of issue that someone might raise, whether it's religious content or explicit content or those things. And I say this as a very religious person too. Don't get me wrong. I believe in God, but this isn't. I was just curious.
Jerry.
I'm just thinking about your question and whatever. I think some of the music, I haven't seen the playlist, so I don't know. So I can't really speak to anything specific, but I think the goal is to have sort of generic holiday music. Mm-hmm. I realize between the beginning of December through sometime in January, there are numerous religious holidays, depending on what your faith is and how you celebrate things. I think that what I've understood from what Sutton just said, whatever this is, this was a question when this first was installed, because at that time, different groups were going to be able to use it. It was located here, and the city had control over it, but they got to pick the music they played for 1 day or 2 days or whatever. So there was a question at that time about who's going to select the music. Is the city going to have some exposure or liability if someone doesn't like the music or it's offensive and whatever? And I said, I think that would be really hard to police. You hope that these groups will use the best sense. Now, whether someone would object to certain, what some people call holiday music, because there is a religious overtone and it does not match their religious convictions, that's always a possibility. There are some people that don't believe you should celebrate any holiday. There are some religious groups that do not celebrate any holiday that many people do. So my thought is just do it and see what happens.
Would you say in this scenario, though, when the city's controlling it, that we're exposed to less liability than an outside group that has control over what they're...
Well, I think the issue then was they were going to pay a fee. The city had to run the music. The equipment was located here, and I believe Mr. Armstrong used to come and help because he was able to do it and whatever. But the city, didn't select the music. Let's say, for instance, it was 4th of July.
Yeah.
And, did they play oldies? Did they play patriotic songs? Whatever.
Yeah.
At that point, we just gave them access to it. They selected, made sure that they had ASCAP license and that we weren't going to get in trouble with the music industry. But we didn't have control over what they were going to play. And
But Jerry, if I could real quick, we're still providing the same vehicle. So, the fact that we provide the vehicle to them or we control the vehicle ourselves.
That's what I was trying to
liability
get at. I
would be the
wasn't
same.
super
It's
sure.
going to be the
Because
same.
it's still our system. So I mean, at the end of the day, I
That's
mean,
what I
if
was
somebody
most
was
curious
offended, I
about,
think the
too.
liability would be the same either way, because we have the vehicle.
And I can tell you, the last two holiday seasons, this has been a huge topic. I cannot tell you the countless hours back and forth of committees and people that wanted things, and I mean, it was time-consuming. And important to some people, but still time-consuming. So I think if I understand the effort that Jeremy and Sutton are having here is that keep it simple and not be as complicated, and find a way so that we don't end up with multiple conversations about holiday music and starting back as far as Halloween. So that's my recollection of the last couple of years when this came up, and I believe this is their effort to find a way not to spend everyone's valuable time on something that I don't mean that demean it, that it's not important,
Right.
but there are a lot of other things
Right,
that
of course.
need attention than that. So I don't mean to speak to you, but I think that's what your effort is, right? So
Yes.
we don't get in that situation we have previously.
So I guess what would stop us from just deciding it today to just like not charge anyone a fee? And this is just the first use case for that.
Well, I think from what Sutton said, there's lots of options that they're considering, but this was to take care of this one finite situation that has come up routinely, and it's been a problem and time-consuming. So whether going forward, you change other things, that might be a good possibility. I don't know. But when this whole concept was put together, it was a very different way of looking at it. And goodness, I think Marilyn, who's in the audience, I know she was at many of the meetings when, with the stakeholders that were figuring out how to do this. And we spent, again, countless hours in coming up with some solution about this to have a public sound system within the city.
Well,
And
I
I
believe
think
this is a pilot phase or a test run, if you will, to see how it goes for this holiday season. And then once we gather more information, we'll have a better understanding about how to move forward with it. Because the other events going forward, when there are microphones involved, is a lot more challenging about when the music needs to be stopped because it's already programmed so somebody can talk. And I mean, so Sutton and I have had extensive conversations about this as well. So, but this is one where you don't have people interrupting to talk or make announcements. I mean, unless, of course, we have to make one, obviously. So, yeah, the events aren't always the same. So this was the one that we thought was probably the best launching point for us for this year.
I was
And
gonna say, like,
I think the other reason I think the question of whether to charge a fee for some events is worth thinking about and not acting on quickly, because at what point does the city sound system just become a on-request jukebox? I mean, not to make light, but I think there needs to be some consideration to what sort of event or setting should be considered to be allowed to use it. Not that it's been abused, but the easier you get it. I mean, right now, the way it's been working, the outside organizations have had to get music licensing themselves. They've had to hook up their own equipment, which has consisted of a range of things from someone's cell phone up in one of the boxes to people who come in with sound systems that, they're making announcements through as well. The easier we make it to use, the more it becomes something where someone might just request it. I mean, we have this app. So I think it's worth considering, the advantages of switching to the app and doing it from inside City Hall are protecting the equipment. If someone has an amplifier, a sound system hooked up that they're putting things through the speakers with, there's always the possibility they could blow out the speakers, and you'd have to, if you wanted to keep having this system, you'd have to replace them at that cost. And we have never really thought about liability in that case. We don't make people make deposits, things like that. So I think there's some things like that to just consider that maybe are worth taking a little time with.
my only concern in this moment, I think probably going away from fees makes a lot of sense, because essentially then the city's providing a public service that seems like probably an economic driver to play like happy music for certain events to, I think like if I were a business owner, I'd be super psyched about that. But I'm just concerned about showing preference, which is sort of why I'm kind of pushing. Like if the city isn't really concerned about maintaining the cost of it, and that's a service we're providing, then certainly deciding who can use it and how you can use it is kind of a separate conversation from cost. I just am afraid of showing preference, especially I feel like if I had an event 2 months ago, I would be like, oh man, I just paid for it. Why does this group get a different treatment?
Yeah, the only thing that I can comment about that is if if you looked at the Facebook posts after every holiday season, and we're charging people, it was just so negative, and they hated the city for forcing these fees onto downtown merchants or whatever organization, our town, whatever, was paying for it. So I think having the city step up will be enjoyed by everyone. I wouldn't think that there would be a feeling of preference. I think there would be a feeling of relief that the city has stepped up to take this on, because it was truly awful every holiday season.
I agree, Nancy, and I think we're getting a little bit further down the road than what we're looking at tonight, because I think what Sutton's proposing tonight is for us to play the music for this holiday season. And then we decide from that point on, and that's when council will get more information and feedback about whether you want to charge a fee in the future. I don't know if that's necessarily
Can
what we're
we
deciding tonight, though.
amend this to just not charge a fee at all, Sutton? Is that, or what would be the procedure for that? Because to me, that seems like a good solution, is just to say we're just not going to charge anyone moving forward.
Let me just.
Or
look
is
at-
there a reason not to do that? I mean, but
I guess I don't see the need for a rush. Like I said, I think it's worth deliberating on. But I think your agenda item is broad enough that it would permit that.
so let's amend it and just not charge anybody moving forward.
So that's a motion to amend the original motion to include waiving all fees for the use of the sound system.
Yes. Yes, so moved.
Now, do we vote on the amendment?
We vote on the amendment first, correct?
Right. Yeah, you
Yes.
first discuss the amendment and then vote on that, and then vote on the main motion.
So we have an amendment to the first motion. Any comments or questions regarding that? About
Do
not-
we have a,
The amendment is to not charge a fee going forward.
Period.
okay.
Not
and
not
this
just
is the
this
comment
holiday
time?
season.
Yeah, this is the
think
comment
it's-
time for that.
I would rather just go with what we have right now. I think it will take some study moving forward, and I think Sutton's comments were correct, that first of all, there was the cost of the system on the front end, and we anticipated some revenue stream to help for payment for that system, but also to just make people think about what they will be using it for, and to keep situations where anybody all the time could be playing stuff on our system. So that's my comment.
I mean, I think in that same vein, this is probably the biggest revenue for that replacement cost. So if revenue's the concern, then this is the time of the year that revenue's recouped for the system. If we're just providing it as a public service, I'm assuming over the course of the year, it's probably $40 a day. There aren't that many days. I imagine it's maybe 2 or 3 dozen, if that. So I think the revenue question seems kind of like a moot point if you remove this from that revenue stream. And then secondly, I feel like if there's good policy and procedure for like signing up to use the system and approving those like administratively, then the question of anybody doing it willy-nilly every day is, probably not. I don't know. That's just my take on it. It seems like
I would think that you would have to have some control over it. In this case, the businesses are just wanting Christmas music to go with all the decorations downtown.
I don't think we're giving up control in this instance, other than a barrier for cost. I mean, or if there's any input on that in terms of. Yeah.
Any other comments regarding the amendment? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay.
Nay.
Roll call, please.
Roll call vote on the motion to amend the original motion. This amendment would add to that motion the elimination of all $40 daily fees going forward for all use of the system. Councilor Bros Faganera,
Nay. I'm sorry, Andrew.
Counselor Carroll,
Aye.
Counselor Hinchman,
Nay.
Counselor Kearns,
Nay.
Counselor Parker,
No.
Counselor Pliszka,
Nay.
Counselor Severino. Only one yes vote. The motion to amend fails. Now you would return to the main motion.
Okay, and now we have a motion regarding the original topic about the sound system. Any other comments or discussion on that?
Well, and I think there's opportunities to totally look
Absolutely.
into all these issues in a broader sense moving forward. So who knows what
I prefer
the
to-
fees will be in the future.
I prefer to study it further and not just act in haste. I mean, I'm not, I think public service for free sounds great, but I'd like to know a little bit more and study it before picking.
In that same vein, then would it be worthwhile just to wait until after this like holiday? Like, is there an urgent moment to not charge people now?
Yes. Trust me.
It's Elkins, baby.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, nay.
Nay.
Roll call vote, please.
Roll call vote on the main motion to waive the fee for the 2025 Downtown Holiday Music Program. Counselor Bros Friganera.
Yes.
Counselor Carroll.
No.
Counselor Hinchman.
Yes.
Counselor Kearns.
Yes.
Counselor Parker. Yes. Counselor Pliszka.
Yes.
Counselor Severino.
Yes.
All right. There's one no, and
Motion carries.
yes, motion carries.
Okay, down to mayor's comments. I'm going to open with some actually really, really good news today. I want to give a shout out and thank the county commission. Tracy mentioned the Whitmer water system earlier. The county commission put that on their agenda today, and they have agreed to provide us a little over $60,000 and agreed to partner with us as we continue this transition. So thank you for them on that one. Back to last week, the D&E student athletes were here. You may have seen them downtown. There were about 350 students that showed up to do a community cleanup. It was a tremendous opportunity and awesome to see all the red going through the city at one point in time. So they were here for about 2 hours. So Mike, thank you for helping coordinate that. The other admin officers that supported them, thank you for that. It was just a tremendous opportunity, and we had a blast with the students, actually. So, and I want them to feel like this is their really home. This is their home. I got to participate in the Veterans Day ceremony on Saturday. We did not cancel the parade on Friday, just clarification, that wasn't us. The veterans did that themselves. But like I said, we were so glad to so thrilled actually to take part of the Veterans Day ceremony on Saturday. It's always an honor for me to take part of that. They always do it very tastefully, so that was definitely a highlight of my weekend. To all the deer hunters going out next week, please be safe. If you find yourself in a situation where you have more jerky than you can ingest, then I will gladly help you and partner with you on that one. Just throwing that out there for you. So, and as we're approaching Thanksgiving, I made the comment on Saturday, I think it's fitting that Veterans Day and Thanksgiving are in the same month, because a lot of the things that we have to be thankful for in this wonderful nation that we live in is because of our veterans and their sacrifices. So as you're entering the holiday season, thank your veterans. Take time to do that. I'm thankful for my health. My back's finally back in shape here. My family. I'm thankful to be the mayor of this amazing city and the employees that we have and my council here and my admin officers. I mean, I'm living a dream right now. It's a fantasy world for me right now. I'm having a blast. So I feel like we're making great progress. The communication is tremendous. So thank you all for that. And thank you for the feedback from the citizens that are out there that kind of keep me in check. So I appreciate that as well. So with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.